Hey everyone, welcome to another awesome episode. Today I've got Itzik Bassat, co-founder and CEO of TheGist. TheGist have been making tons of noise. They're almost everywhere and they're about to launch an amazing product. I think when this episode is going to go live, I think it's already, the product is going to be on air already. You should definitely check it out. There's headlines literally everywhere. Itzik, thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about TheGist. Tell us a little bit about what got you to do this.
Well, the person that came out with the idea is my partner, Itzik. And he was the VP of engineering in a company that Nir Zohar, the third co-founder, and myself invested in very early on. Later on, Insight became an investor. And as he was working there, he was facing all these problems that are coming up because the world changed so much in the last 15 years. From a world where we work through mainly our email to a world where every vertical is working on a different SaaS tool. And the average company has more than 50 vertical tools that they're deploying in their stack. And he started noticing that there was just a lot of miscommunication going on, right? Things that will fall between the cracks, and there would be too much noise. And he gave me a call. I was with Nir in New York at the time, and kind of like described the general solution that he thinks he can build for that. And both Nir and myself really liked it. Felt like it's something that can work. And the next move was to call Tal Slobodkin from Stage One, who before he was with Stage One was with Cisco. And I remember that he was dealing with kind of like ERPs, knowledge bases for organizations and so on. And I wanted to hear his opinion. And his first sentence to me was, "Don't do it." But when Ittai started describing the technological solution that we have for the problem, he became a believer and said, "Let's do it." Committed to be the first investor. And that's how the G started.
Okay, so there's a few interesting things you said here. So just for context for the audience, can you describe TheGist? So TheGist started as a Slack add-on, right? And then you guys added Gmail?
Not exactly.
Okay, go for it.
So we knew that we want to solve the problem of knowledge in the organization, right? We knew that people are working on things that they shouldn't work on, and people are not aware of things that are going on in the organization. We had multiple examples from the various companies that we were involved in for situations like that. We interviewed a lot of different companies and a lot of different employees, executives, whatever, to understand the extent of the problem. And we were convinced that the problem exists. We later on found researches that showing that about 40% of the productivity of employees is going to waste because of context switching. But the reason we launched TheGist for Slack was completely different. It was a growth hack. What we also noticed is that it was very difficult for people to imagine how AI work in the workspace and actually help them with doing their work. So we went for the lowest hanging fruit, and that's Slack communication. We all had situations where we would wake up in the morning, 162 messages we haven't read, and we would look at that and go like, oh my God, there would be a lot of poop emojis and a lot of this and that and a lot of noise.
Bullshit.
Noise that that I don't need to read, and probably among these 162 messages and 10 minutes of reading, there is probably one or two sentences that I really need to know about. So that's the gist for Slack. We wanted for people and companies to see that they can really use AI for their benefit. AI can save them time, can focus them on what's important. And it was a great way for us to get in the market. And today, the GIST for Slack is being used by thousands of companies, very high retention in comparison to any SaaS tool that I'm aware of. And it's being used by us as a tool to demonstrate the capabilities of the GIST and introduce them to the new platform.
And then like the next step was like integrating Gmail into the,
Yeah, that was an experiment that we ran. So we wanted to see how two tools work together. We knew that a lot of internal communication is being done by Slack, but then there's still a lot of things that need to be done by Gmail. And we wanted to see what happened when we combined the two. And we wanted also to see, by the way, with keeping the integrity of both tools, which is extremely important for us. And we wanted to see what happened when we start deploying AI tools on emails, aggregating them, summarizing them, and helping people to deal with the extent of noise that they face every day at work.
And now the third step is it's a completely different thing. You
Right.
guys are doing the ultimate. So kind of talk about the ultimate product that has just been launched.
Yeah, the GIST Workspace. So with the first product, the GIST for Slack, it was a PLG product-led growth. We basically spent $0 marketing that. We had an unbelievable viral loop that we managed to create with the tool. So for every employee that we would convince to join the GIST in one organization, we would get at least another 15
Wow.
employees. We would get an average of 15 employees joining the GIST in a very clear viral loop where people are recommending it to each other and talking about the fact that it saves them time and help them do their job better. And we were very happy with that. The next stage is also going to be product-led growth to some extent, but it's also directed more to organizations. And what we understood as we were working on things is that, and I think that's what really differs us from a lot of the other solutions that are out there, we decided to focus on the person, right? Our focus we're laser focused on the employee, on their needs, on what is important to them. And as such, we created, when we talk inside the organization about workspace, we talk about all your inboxes. We talk about all the information that you have access to inside the organization, or the organization wants you to have access to. And kind of like making sure that within that range of information, you get what you need. So whether it's on Slack or on Jira or on Notion or on Gmail, for us, what's important is that the right information will get to the right employee at the right time and help them do their job better. That's the reason we called it the GIST, right? It's the essence.
Can you talk about how the design will look like? Obviously, people can go in and check out the product, but just tell me a little bit about the interface, because the interface, the minute you see the interface, you already know what's going to happen, right?
Right. That was important for us. So we're very, very lucky because the team that we have is a real founding team. First of all, we have multiple entrepreneurs within the team. Kind of like everyone is really contributing a lot to the overall thinking and development of the product, but specifically on product and product design, we have Ophir, who's coming to us from Lightrix. He was VP of product there. Really was one of the first employees at Lightrix, and went through all the phases of growing the company, and he's doing an amazing job kind of understanding what people really want to experience and making the experience fun for them. Coming from a consumer-led product, PLG product, really helps him with that. And of course, we have also Nir Kosovo, who's coming to us from Wix, where
The Weeks Mafia.
yeah, the Weeks Mafia, where he was one of the leads on the first HTML5 editor that was really groundbreaking and made the company very successful, and was also part of building the UX studio within Wix that we're recording this in Israel. As you know, in Israel, the UX team, the Wix UX team, considered to be one of the best one, and for good reasons. He was one of the founders of that group. So we have two really good product guys, and it was important for them that even though we build a product that is in the corporate world, in the enterprise world, every user, because it's built for people, for users, and it would be focused on their experience, and that when they open that container, that workspace for the first time, they would go like, oh, this can help me.
It does the job. It does the job of
Thank
100%. And hopefully the people who are listening to this can check it out. There's something interesting, in the last, I think, 6 or 7 months since, ChatGPT started going viral and everybody, Microsoft started to add, the Copilot into their workspace. And we saw, everyone's like, Salesforce are adding AI. And you guys were one of the first to do that.
Right.
Because you guys started to do that, I think, like 1 year ago,
Right.
6 months before all the hype. And you guys already had that vision of adding AI into the workspace before, I think, even, with the other big companies did.
Right.
How do you think your solution is going to be, what's the USP compared to other big players?
What's the what?
The unique selling proposition that you guys have compared, because look, Notion is bringing in AI.
All right, so I'll start with why we released the product last year.
Yeah.
So the reason I call it a growth hack is that it was clear to us as people that have been involved in the startup world for many years, and as I said, we have many entrepreneurs within the team. It was clear to us that time to market is of an essence, that our speed is one of our advantages.
Yes.
And it was clear to us that all the vertical tools would have great AI solutions, or at least good AI solutions integrated into them at some point. But we knew it's not going to be faster than what we can do it. So
And it's vertical. It's not the whole thing.
right. So that's exactly what we did. Right. We wanted to test things. We wanted to understand things. We wanted to build our brand. We wanted to prove to people that AI can help them in the workspace, and there was no easier way to do that than to go to one of the tools that we like the most, Slack.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of respect to Slack and a lot of respect to what they built, and it was a great way for us to build something quickly, and to demonstrate how we can help people, knowing very well that our interest is in the cross-app AI. That's our focus, right? And that's the reason that we immediately after that added Gmail, right?
Yeah.
Because it's giving us the ability to see how two tools to work together and start imagining the workspace, the container, the organizational inbox.
So you mentioned something earlier in the conversation that I think is super, super valuable. You said that, and you're an entrepreneur with tons of experience. So you're like 20, 30 years in, right? 20 something.
I just told so one of the entrepreneurs that work in the team, his name is Tomer.
Okay.
And he at some point, he started his career at the Rod Group.
Okay.
It was like a very famous company in Israel. It was very big in the 90s. And he was born in 1993. And I did my summer work in 1993 in the Rod Group. So
you're not that old.
I'm that old.
Interesting. So you mentioned earlier in the conversation, you talked about how when in the old days it was just email. You would manage everything inside that inbox.
Right.
Right. And now it's like there's the amount of vertical apps that exist is unbelievable. It's insane. Do you feel like your productivity back then, when you were only using email to communicate with everyone, has been enhanced massively because all of those vertical apps?
I'll answer that differently, if I
Okay.
may.
Go for it.
When we first came to VCs with the solution, even if I just talked to them because they're friends of mine, they immediately said, "What vertical do you serve?" And I was trying to explain to them the different view that we have of the world. We think that the SaaS solutions had to be vertical. The SaaS solutions are offering UX UI that it is directed towards a certain type of profession and information. And it gives really good answer to that. If you're a designer, then Figma is giving you a really good solution. We're not going to replace Figma. If you're a product manager, Monday or Asana are providing you really good interface. We're not going to replace that either. But that verticalization broke the horizontal connection inside the organization. And I'm sure anyone that is listening to us and working in a company with more than 10 people is aware of how many things fall between the cracks, how many solutions exist in the company that you're not even aware that they exist, how difficult it is to get salespeople to go on Jira or developers to go on Salesforce, not because it's not great tools, but because those tools are directed towards a certain type of audience. So your email analogy for me is exactly about that, right? It's not that the work was easier or better in 2004 or 5, but it was more unified, so you could understand the organization a little bit better, because if you're on an email chain, then and the product manager is describing the product, then you know what's going on in the product department. Mm-hmm. But in today's world, if you want to know what's going on in product, you have to go into Monday or Asana and really get into it. And we felt that there is a difference between the need for the vertical tool and to be a contributor to the vertical tool, and the read-only people, the people that need to consume that information in a very short, concise way that helps them do their job better.
Mm-hmm. Getting the gist out of everything.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to throw a curveball. This is going to be not an easy question. A lot of people, when I talk about this, because I talk to a lot of people about this productivity space, the app space, the vertical app space, all of that, and I'm actually pretty interested about that. And I'll just give a story to our viewers. So we have someone on our team. I think I told you that. Every Thursday, every second Thursday or something, he comes up and sends an email or a WhatsApp to the group, to the team, and he says, "Hey, I have this new product. And this new app is going to take our productivity to the next level. Trust me, I'm telling you, it's this one." And we do the onboarding and we do everything and we test it out. And then we just end up having more apps, just an unbelievable amount of apps. And we keep on, moving from Trello to Asana. We're now using Asana, which is great. But we keep on playing with those stuff. And when I talk to people and I tell them this story, they tell me, you know what the ideal solution is? The ideal solution is to use Google Workspace, right, or to use Microsoft, Microsoft Teams or whatever. Yeah. And then basically they say, in Google Workspace you have the Google Spreadsheet, you have the Google Tasks, you have Google Calendar, you have Gmail, you have everything in that workspace. And then I ask them, okay, so then why is that not being adopted massively? So you know what they tell me?
What?
They tell me that that Notion is better than Google Docs.
I agree.
And Asana is better than using Google Spreadsheet to manage your tasks. And Todoist is better than Google Tasks.
Right.
So Google tried to form that workspace. And they're doing a good job as much as they can, but they haven't cracked every single vertical.
Yeah.
And I think with TheGist, you're basically saying, hey, I'm going to build this layer that it is like a Google Workspace in a sense, but you get to choose the best apps to every vertical.
Right. So, first of all, it's a good question. I get this question a lot. And when we started researching this market, we noticed that there are a lot of companies that are trying to replace tools, or to do something that one tool does a little bit better, or to add to it something unique. And as users, we we are fed up with more apps. And I think the vertical solutions that exist today, those companies are very good, and they're competing hard, and they're adding features all the time. I don't think there's going to be, there is a need in the market, desperate need in the market. Maybe I'm wrong, and next week there would be a new one. But those tools are pretty good. Monday is very good. I love Monday. I use Monday all the time, and not only because it came out of Wix. I really love the product, and I use Jira a lot. I use GitHub a lot. There are a lot of apps that are really, really good that I like a lot. And our principle was that we build a container. It's built on a Chromium basis, and it allows you to run any app you want. We don't care which app you wanna run. All we care about is that if in this app there is information that you need to know about, or that can help you do your job better, we would let you know that information exists there.
Do you see yourself as so basically you mentioned earlier that this is going to be it's a personal solution, but it's going to be in the context of the enterprise, in context of the company. So is the AI capabilities, are they going to be synced in throughout the whole team to deliver context?
Yeah. The goal is to, so we're modeling, the tool is modeling basically yourself in the organization, but it does that in the context of who you work with and what you're working on together. And we have something that we call status of work, which is meant like the interviews that we did led us to believe that there isn't really a good view of if a project is moving in the right direction. And what we noticed is that we started syncing everyone, then there is a better visibility towards, is this project really moving in the right direction? And so the status of work is putting everyone on the same page and helping everyone to get to the finish line in the right way, in the right time. So status of work, at least from the design partners that we work with, it seems to be something that people view as a great way to put everyone on the same page. It also, another thing that we notice is that it prevents the situation of double entry. You talk with someone about something on Slack, but then you'll get to double entry that into Jira just a week after. So, what it prevents is the situation where people need to know about the progress that this project has done and the discussion in Slack, but they're not going to be aware of that because it's not updated in Jira. And what we would do is two things. A, if that information is important, we would suggest to you to add it to Jira. And B, if that information is important for mass distribution, we would suggest to you to send it to another group maybe that needs to know about it, or another individual that needs to know about it, and so on.
That's an amazing feature. I think are you referring here to the bundling aspect of it? No, that's more of the suggestions. That's more of the thing.
It's
so
suggested action. So
yeah.
I wrote something like I'm giving an update about the project.
Yeah.
And then we don't know when you're going to add it to Monday or to Jira or to whichever tool you use to manage a project. Sometimes there is a few days that go by before you find the time to go and update it there. And what we make it easy for you, right? It's a click of a button, and we send that information to the tool you want it to appear in, or we send it information to the group of people that you want to share it with.
So a feature that I love that is amazing, I think, and it's a completely breakthrough feature, is the bundling aspect. So let's say me and you work on a project together, and we're working on that across platform. We're working on that on Asana, we're working on Gmail, we're slacking each other. And the TheGist workspace actually bundles everything into one into one.
Oh, it does that.
It does that, yeah.
Yes.
So that's amazing because it lets you feel in control
Yeah.
over that narrative instead of trying to look out for everything.
By the way, technologically, that's probably one of the
Breakthroughs.
biggest problems we're facing.
Oh,
We're we're working really hard on solving that, but normalizing that across different tools is sometimes very, very difficult. Um, and what we did in order to overcome that is to work with our design partners to understand the logic of how things are done inside organizations, and then to try and teach the agent, to think in the right way about the different projects and to identify the different projects as the same projects. It's a huge problem, and I think we're in the right direction, but it's going to take time until we fully solve
until we
that.
kind of perfect that.
Yeah.
So I want to take you to another angle here. So every single big productivity app, if it's Notion, if it's Todoist, all the big ones who are really successful, they all have an underlining productivity philosophy. Okay, so for example, Todoist, their founder, he talks about David Allen, the getting things done principle. It's the whole infrastructure, right? Yeah. And we also talked about Peter Drucker.
Yeah.
So we talked about that as well. Peter Drucker basically saying that the worst thing you can do is to be super productive on the unimportant things.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of ask you personally. So you're the mastermind. You, Itai, the whole team. You guys are the mastermind behind that. What is like your productivity method that contributes to this whole thing?
Yeah. Wow, that's a good question. I think that for me, so as you know, I do a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
I have a small hedge fund that that I'm a partner in. I'm an investor. I advise Jeff Horing from Insight, and this is, of course, my most important job, TheGist, being the CEO of TheGist. But I think that for me is that, like when the secret of doing a lot of things is to do what's really, really important at any given time. So the ability to prioritize, which I've been working on really, really hard. And if things are not important, I just push them to the side and I say, yeah, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to focus on these two things and do them really, really well. And then the second thing, which is the reason I found the gist so interesting, is that I do everything. I try to make everything as short as possible. So simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.
Da Vinci.
Right, said Leonardo da Vinci. And I really, really believe in that. I try to take the most complicated things, break them to small parts, understand what really matters, and then tackle them as quickly as I can. So that's definitely the thing that I believe in the most. And with the years, I think things are becoming easier when you understand that you work with people that are very likely as talented or more talented than you. And if you pick them right, if you work with such people, then delegation of everything else is becoming the critical part, because you don't want to drop everything else. It's just that those things other people will do better than you.
Mm-hmm.
So you let them do that, and you focus on what you do really well and what you can master, and that, I think, leads to team productivity overall.
Let me add my 2 cents. So just for context, I work with you we're already working together for, I think, over 1 year or something like that.
Right.
And I work with about 30, 40 companies, right? So it's like 30, 40 CEOs,
Yeah.
right? From different stages: seed, Series A, Series C, exit. Startups are that just sold to American Express, Nintendo a few months ago. Shout out to them. And I get to taste so many different work styles, right? And I gotta tell you that there's no question, and I'm saying this on camera, everyone can see this. There's no question that yours is the most productive.
Thank you.
You're the most productive one. I tell you why. You don't waste nothing. You don't waste text. You don't waste anything. Even your texts are super short. They're like one sentence long, and you have this dash. You always put a dash, and then you put it like, and it's super. And every word you say seems super calculated. I'll give you an example. Let's take another CEO. I have someone in mind, but I'm not going to mention his name. Every time I open my WhatsApp or my email, he has been slammering me. Okay, he's been slammering me with like requests and 300 words, and all those requests bundle up into one single thing that we need to do, that I need to do. And when I work with you, you just send me the single thing, and then I take that single thing, and I make it work, and then I send it back to you, and you give me a thumbs up.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, why isn't everybody like that? Why is that? Why is your brain being able to do that? Is that the ADHD thing? Is that the personal thing, or is that experience, or is that just you, or this is a good question, I think, or is that? And I mean, you talk a lot about Richard Branson and those type of people that I'm super interested in.
Yeah.
Is that because you're multi-faced? You have the hedge fund, you have you're connected. You have the Inside Partners work. You have the Gist. You have your other investments, your networking thing. Is that because you have all of those things together, and other CEOs might have only one thing, and then they're overthinking, they're over kind of playing on that one single thing? Do you think that's the case?
Well, first of all, you talked about something that is personal, and that's my constant challenge with ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, and today I have an 11 years old daughter who's bravely facing that and these challenges as well, and through the years I taught myself little tricks that help me to understand what I do really well, and to focus on that. And what I understood is that vertically, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be really much better than me. Their ability to focus on one thing and to master it and to do it really well and to repeat the same process over and over again is going to be significantly better than mine. I would never be able to be as deep as them when it comes to vertical knowledge. Like, let's take Omel from Wix, right? He's the CMO of Wix, and he really, he made something unbelievable. I mean, a big part of the Wix success is him. And, at the first couple of years, maybe I could give him a few, suggestions and ideas, but very quickly his knowledge was so much bigger than mine, and so much deeper than mine, and I could really add very little to the way he thinks about stuff. And it was true almost with any kind of vertical ability. And I think that understanding that I don't have that ability to really focus on something, learn it, get really deep understanding of a specific field is what it was almost what forced me to know a little bit about a lot of things. And then the short communication is just because kind of like that's the way my brain works. It gets to the gist of things. And I try to think, okay, so what really needs to be done here? If I can do only one thing, like what would be the things that I would suggest doing? And I really love working with people that get it. They don't need the long explanation of with the deep reasoning of that. I give a suggestion. We talk about it. We decide if it's the right thing or not. Sometimes the vertical expert would explain to me that it's not, and we'll move on. So I think like it's a necessity because that's the way my brain works, and I'm trying to make the most of what I was given.
I want to talk about your day-to-day productivity. It seems, I'm just guessing here, I might be wrong. It seems like you manage most of your day through your iPhone.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that just because it's the easiest way to work in that way?
You remind me of when the first BlackBerry started coming out. I was so addicted to that I used to sleep with my BlackBerry.
Really?
Yeah, and I got to the point that I was like totally exhausted and stopped doing that. But I think what the iPhone allows me to do is to react really quickly and to get things moving really, really fast. And then, but what I also try to do is if we're going to have a serious discussion about something, and you've been in meetings with me in the past, I put the phone aside knowing that I have that problem, and I totally focus on the conversation. I can't do it for a very long time, but for the amount of time that we will be together, I will try to focus on what's important for us in the discussion. But that's the only time that I don't work with my phone.
And in terms of you entering your workday, so let's say you entered your workday today, are you like calendar driven, or are you like, do you have like a to-do list that you do for every single day? How does that look like?
Yeah, so we added last minute to our console, to the workspace, we added a to-do list.
Nice.
And I'm guilty of that. And thank you, Itai, my partner, my co-founder, for going with my craziness about that. But what I told him is similar to what I told you now about vertical capabilities. Todoist is a great tool. By the way, I really like it, and there are a few Israeli companies that are doing to-do lists that I really have a lot of respect to.
Who, for example?
Anydo.
Anydo, yeah.
Anydo is a company that I've been following since the day they started, and Aleph, the excellent VC that invested in us, invested also in Anydo in the early days, and I think their premise was amazing, and I think they managed to fulfill a lot of that. But I have a lot of respect to to-do list, and I think they're really, really good for a certain type of person. For certain type of people, and because those are paid apps, then I think that they're focusing on people that really use the to-do list to make their job organized, and it's worthwhile for them to pay for the pro version and those features. But I think most people just need a very simple to-do list, right? The name of the task, description of the task, the people you work with on the task, and the due date for the task, and then to collaborate on that with them. So we just added that to the console, kind of like saying, hey, if you work with Todoist and you're paying the or Anydo and you pay the pro, we can understand why. But if you need something simple, we can.
You can use the to-do list.
Yeah.
And you use Todoist?
No,
before the gist.
No, I'm not. Again, like that level of details is just not me. So I need something very, very simple. So actually, what I used before we had the Todoist in the workspace, I used. I'm embarrassed to say, but I used Notes.
Like Apple Notes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I use Apple Notes.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I used that, and but it wasn't collaborative in the same way, and I couldn't really work on that with other people or have a due date and reminders and all this like really, really simple things that you want in a Todoist. So that's why we added that.
Nice. And we're starting to wrap this up here. Any specific books that have kind of influenced you? you mentioned dyslexia. Maybe you're not a big reader. I don't know. I haven't even asked you that before.
So actually, with the years, I dealt with ADHD and ADD and dyslexia in different ways. One of them was meditation, and it really helped me
Okay.
through the years.
Meditations?
Meditation.
Marcus Aurelius? No. What do you mean? Oh, you mentioned doing
Like
meditation.
doing meditation, yeah.
Oh, you do meditations?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
There was a period of time that I was really doing that.
Every day?
Every day.
20 minutes?
Every day, 20 minutes, even in a, like, I live in New
Long
Jersey.
Island.
In New Jersey, back then I was living in New York, so I would do it in the, like, in a
Central
taxi
Park?
ride.
Oh, really?
Right,
Nice.
like from one meeting to the other, I would
Yeah.
just like get myself in the zone. But I do try to read as much as I can. There are tons of books that influenced me. Getting one of them,
Give me two then.
one that I read recently, or
yeah, something that
or something that is like.
something that you want me to read.
So, I love history, and I love different figures, from historical figures, for different reasons. And one of the historical figures that I really admire, I'm not gonna say Winston Churchill. I know that everyone would say that. By the way, he was a great man, but actually Alexander the Great.
Oh, yes.
So first of all, my grandma was born in Skopje, Macedonia, and is upbringing by a philosopher, and with a group of friends, and the way he convinced Athens to cooperate with him. Athens was much more advanced than Macedonia. But he managed to convince Athens to join forces with him. He became the king of Greece, unified Greece, and managed to go on a world exploration, learning different cultures. And it was almost a life quest for him to learn different cultures. And one thing that he did very differently than other historical figures was that he didn't force his religion and his beliefs on the cultures that he conquered, but he actually stayed in that place and learned from those cultures. And every time he learned a little bit of someone else's culture, he became more knowledgeable. And
He upgraded himself.
He upgraded himself, and I think that for me, as someone that always tried to learn a little bit from everything, I remember that as a teenager, learning about him, and later on in life, reading a lot of books about that era, I always had this greatest admiration to how much thirst for knowledge and thirst for understanding people he had.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel so he's kind of like a mentor to you in a sense? Who would you say is like a business mentor to you right now?
I really have a lot of respect. I hope he's not going to hear that, but I really have a lot of respect to Jeff. I started working with Jeff in 2009, and the way he looks at companies, the way he works with entrepreneurs, the way he thinks about business. Every conversation until this very day, right? We're working together for 14 years. Every conversation, I just learned so much, and I have a lot of respect and admiration to him, and I go to him very often with questions.
Mm-hmm. You live in the States, but TheGist home base is in Israel, in Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
For now, for now. And like I think I asked you like last week or something. I told you like, how do you do that? How just just the jet lag, just like like how's that comfortable?
So what I do is when I'm in the U.S., I go to sleep really early. My kids go to sleep at 9:30, and I go to sleep with them
At 9:30.
9:30, and I wake up really early in the morning. I start my work day at around 5 a.m. in the morning. Between 7 and 8, I get my kids ready for school, and then I work from 8 until 3 when they come back from school, and then I spend time with them. So, kind of like that, and it's a new thing for me to wake up early, right? It started maybe 5 years ago, and it changed my own life in terms of productivity. Waking up really early, starting my day with a little bit of exercise and good cold shower, and then just start my day. And it changed a lot of my productivity. When I'm in Israel, it's a little bit more difficult because you guys here start your day at around 10 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
There's no one to talk to before 10 a.m. It's amazing.
Yeah, there's no one.
So it's a little bit different, but still, I try to finish my day pretty early, go to sleep pretty early, wake up pretty early, and keep that routine.
Do you see yourself coming back to Israel to live here? I know we kind of discussed this a while ago.
Yeah.
Do you prefer to live in the States nowadays?
Well, that's a difficult question. I love Israel. I'm an Israeli. I love Israel. I grew up in Israel, and I really care about what's happening here. When we started Wix, I told Avishai that I had pretty good success before that in the U.S., but I haven't contributed to starting a big Israeli company. And
in the U.S.?
No, in Israel.
In Israel, okay.
And Wix is almost completely Israeli, and that's very much thanks to Avishai, who wanted to do that way. But the contribution to Israel is very important to me. I try to do a lot of business here and to contribute that way to the country. But my personal life is in the U.S. My kids are Americans, and it's going to be very difficult to change that.
They were born in the U.S.?
They were born in the U.S.
Oh, okay. Okay, interesting. Okay, you've been super generous with your time. I have one final question to you.
Sure.
One advice, only three tips would you give to entrepreneurs if they really want to make it big? If they really want to shoot for the Bransons, for the,
Wow.
Shoot for the, and you've been, and just for context,
I'm not Bronson.
Yeah, you're not Branson yet.
I have no aspirations, to be honest.
But you have you know people who are on that level. Avishai is not that far away from that level in a way. Right? And you have direct access to those people, and you see them, and you work with them for 20 years. What makes them different? What are the three things that makes them different? Or maybe you can tell me, listen, everyone's different.
Yeah, no. So I think that's what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
I think, you asked me once, why I'm such a private person, right? I don't talk with a lot of people. I do a lot of stuff that people. I have, I think, 5 or 6 unicorns that I've been directly involved in different ways, different capacities, and but no one knows me really, and I don't need people to know me. I'm a very private person. Even doing
this was not easy.
Even doing this is embarrassing to me. So every person is different. One person really wants everyone to know them. One person wants, to have the most money, and I prefer to think of myself as someone that wants the most happiness. I don't like interviewing. I don't like to be that my name is out there, and I don't like, I'm not trying to be the richest person in the world. I have more than enough for myself. But happiness is really important to me. And for me, happiness means that, as I told you, in the US, I would finish my workday at 3, and I would be with my kids, until they go to sleep, drive them to tennis, go to soccer matches, go to theater, or whatever it is, I really enjoy it, and I prefer to do that than to work another hour between 3 and 9:30. And when so for me, that quest for happiness means that you're satisfying your soul with what makes you feel really good. The Gist, I'm doing that with Nir, who I really, really respect and think is amazing, and Itai, that I've been working with since he was in college. Right, he came to me as a college student, and those are people that I really love. So all the people that I work with, I think you know a lot of them. They're really good friends of mine, and I really, really love being around them. So for me, that's real happiness. And if in that process we are successful, and we deliver great products to people, that makes me even happier.
Amazing, man. Amazing. And that's really amazing. And I can definitely tell you that I'm super excited, for the mission that the Gist has, and the product is amazing. It's like it's a real productivity tool.
Right.
It's real productivity. It's not just another tool to play with and kind of but hopefully everyone can get a chance to check it out. Is there anything else you want to say to the audience? Something?
Yeah, no, it's if you want to check it out, go to www.thegist.ai. Sign up for the wait list. We'll get to everyone eventually. And that's it. Thank you.
Do it. Hurry up. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. מדהים, אחי. עכשיו, אני אגיד בשלוש, תלחץ עוד פעם על הכפתור האדום, טוב? 1, 2,